President Biden issued an executive order directing the United States government to become more involved with cryptocurrency. And there were 6 big areas in this: consumer and investor protection, financial stability, illicit activity, U.S. competitiveness on a global stage, financial inclusion, and responsible innovation. But what does all this mean? How does it affect us as investors? And what does this mean for the United States becoming more involved in a regulatory environment with cryptocurrency? We're going to explore all that by looking at the actual government fact sheet, which is a summary of what the executive order is, to get a little better understanding of what's going on coming up on Investing Education with me, Mr. B. Welcome to the channel where we help you to learn fast so you can become a confident and successful investor. If that sounds interesting to you, do consider subscribing and checking out our other videos. All right, so this is kind of a big move in the cryptocurrency space, with the U.S. government really starting to get more involved and having direction to get very involved. So we're going to look at that actual government fact sheet or summary real quickly so we can get an idea of these 6 big areas that they're looking at and what it might mean for us as investors. Okay, I'm over here at whitehouse.gov and we're looking at the fact sheet or the summary of this executive order. And of course, being a government document, it has things like ensuring responsible development of digital assets, as opposed to calling it just strictly cryptocurrency regulation. But there's actually stuff around development too, so it's actually quite interesting. And really with the executive orders, it's all about kind of giving direction to the government, to a whole government strategy around regulation, but also around development of cryptocurrency assets. And I think, and I have links in the description below with this document so you can read it in detail. It's very short. It'll take you less than 5 minutes to read it. But this first part here is very interesting from just a good summary part here, where it talks about that, digital currencies have grown from 3 trillion in November, is up to up from 14 billion just 5 years ago. So, it's really risen. 16% of U.S. adults are using, about 40 million people are using cryptocurrency or are investing in cryptocurrency. And also talks about how this is important, how over 100 countries are exploring or piloting central bank digital currencies. This is in this document too about the U.S. doing this as well. So we're going to catch that at the very end of this short little recap. So that first sentence is very interesting. Then there's a couple other government-y stuff, And now let's look at those 6 things that are really specifically called out from the executive order. And executive orders are all about directing the government what to do, steps to take, and to prioritize things, basically. So the first step is protecting U.S. consumers, investors, and businesses. So this really gets into having the Department of Treasury and other government departments. It's all about regulation to protect consumers, investors, and businesses. So it's all about how can we protect people. And as we know in cryptocurrency, especially with a long history, there's been fraud around cryptocurrency, exchanges that have been hacked and lost money. So having more regulatory security is a good thing. In my personal opinion, I think is a good thing from a protection standpoint for investors. Markets succeed when there is good, not over-regulation, but good regulation to ensure fairness and security for all. Next, we've got protecting U.S. global financial stability and mitigating systemic risk. So that's basically looking at recommendations and things and policy recommendations to look at regulatory gaps and making sure that the overall system is functioning properly. And so you have protecting consumers and individuals and businesses and investors, and then protecting the overall and regulating the overall system and really developing that. There's a lot of this is part of the development part. Mitigating the illicit finance and national security risk posed by illicit use of digital assets, or cryptocurrency. So basically looking at money laundering, terrorism, or trying to sanction certain governments that might be behaving badly, like Russia's invasion of Ukraine. How can we regulate that and do that in the cryptocurrency market? And there's a lot going on with that too. But certainly, again, more regulatoriness around preventing, bad behavior from bad individuals. Promoting the U.S. leadership in technology and economic competitiveness to reinforce U.S. leadership in the global financial system. That's a long sentence to basically say, all right, the U.S. government's like, we don't want cryptocurrency. We just want to be in the U.S. dollar, fiat currency, on it. But now that it's grown so much cryptocurrency, and this is something that's been predicted for many years, now the government's like, we can't ignore it anymore. We got to step in. And if we're going to step in and get involved, we want to be leaders in it. That's what the government's saying. What the president is directing the U.S. government to say, if we're going to do this, we want to be a leader in this technology and the approach to digital assets. Promote equitable access to safe and affordable financial services. That's free. You've got equal access, so to speak. One of the promises of things like digital currency is helping the unbanked, for example. And we think of the unbanked in maybe developing areas or developing countries, maybe like in Africa and other places. But the unbanked in developed nations like the United States is astounding. If you just Google, do an internet search, how many unbanked people are in the United States, you would be shocked at that number. In fact, all right, let's do it. Let's take a second here and do it. How many unbanked in the U.S.? All right. 55 million people in the United States are unbanked. That means they don't have a banking relationship or whatever, and cryptocurrency can really help with that, is the idea behind that. 55 million, help them. But over other ways, we're looking at this equitable, basically reach of cryptocurrency. A couple more left here. Support technological advances, ensure responsible development of digital assets. So this is the government maybe helping with research and development, helping fund companies to do more things, and help with things like prioritizing security, combating illicit exploitation, reducing negative climate impacts. We know about like crypto mining and how that has a real, takes a lot of energy and a lot of resources to do cryptocurrency mining and calculating those formulas and things to mine for Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, which can have a negative effect, well, definitely has a negative effect on the environment. How can we reduce and mitigate that? And then lastly, looking at explore U.S. central bank digital currency, or commonly known as a CBDC. How can the U.S. have leadership, internationally and promote CBDC development that is consistent with U.S. priorities and democratic values, as explained out here. So again, back to if the United government is going to get involved in cryptocurrency, how can we be leaders in it, and how can we, develop our own, central bank digital currency, like the central bank manages the U.S. dollar, and other central banks managing things like the euro or the yen or whatever, the rupee. All these are managed by government central banks. How can we now do this from a cryptocurrency standpoint? So I'll have the link below as far as the overall document, and this is really this short. That was pretty much the whole document. Some interesting things to look a little closer at in it. But I think the overall kind of idea or big message or big idea to take from this is the United States is, in other countries, are finally taking bigger steps to become more regulatory, but also hopefully in a good way and help support the growth of this digital currency and these digital assets. Think back to the early days of the internet. There was not a lot of government involvement early on, and then when government got involved and gave more supports and things, then companies really developed it and really took it to the level that we're at today. And now there's some regulation around the internet. People could certainly argue, especially around big technology, maybe there should be more regulation of the internet. And that's kind of the same concept around cryptocurrency. And in the end, again, my opinion, good, safe investing markets that people can have confidence in means more people will invest. And as more people invest, that actually drives up prices, because it's kind of like supply and demand. You got more demand for cryptocurrency. How can we have more than, what are we looking at in the United States here? They said about 40 million people. How can that number go to 200 or 250 million people using cryptocurrencies and trading cryptocurrencies and make it more on a level, let's say something like stocks and bonds? So interesting things coming. So right now, it's really just a direction, and you're going to see movement on this. And the thing to watch for is, what are some of the comments? What are some of the things that they're looking at doing? And is it over-regulating, overhanded, too much? Or is it maybe, hopefully not too little, and maybe just right? So something to watch for. I hope this helped give you a good overview of what's happening with this, and it's kind of big news. If you like these kind of videos and all that, hey, do, again, hit that subscribe button, check it out, and do check out my website, Investing Education with Mr. B. I have a complete cryptocurrency course on there, plus courses around stock market and real estate, lots of different investing, plus a free course on stock market investing for beginners too, and other courses we're developing all the time, so do check those out as well. With that, keep looking at cryptocurrency and keep thinking about how you might interact with cryptocurrency, and be keeping an eye on what is happening with governments, not only in the United States, but all over the world. A lot of interesting things happening. So with that, I wish you all the best of luck with your investing, particularly if you're investing in digital assets.